Imagine waking up to a news alert that fundamentally alters the global financial landscape. An alert that sends shockwaves through currency markets and redefines the value of money in your bank account. For thousands of investors watching the Iraqi dinar with bated breath, this isn't just a fantasy, it's a daily anticipation, a hope nestled in the complex and often opaque world of Middle Eastern economics and geopolitics. The journey of the dinar is not for the faint of heart. It is a saga punctuated by whispers in online forums, bold predictions from self-proclaimed gurus, and the slow, grinding gears of international political machinery. Today, we are cutting through that noise to deliver a comprehensive, no-nonsense breakdown of the most critical guru news highlights, but we are grounding it in the stark reality of verifiable data, official statements, and the undeniable macroeconomic pressures facing Iraq. The core premise that every dinar investor is clinging to is the potential for a revaluation, or RV, a moment where the Central Bank of Iraq would officially increase the currency's value against the US dollar by a significant, even life-changing margin. The chatter across major guru platforms has reached a fever pitch, centering on a few key pillars that form the bedrock of current optimism. Firstly, the ongoing negotiations between Iraq and the United States regarding the international banking system and the gradual phasing out of the dollar in domestic Iraqi transactions is a monumental shift. This isn't merely a procedural change, it represents Iraq's most assertive step yet towards financial sovereignty, a move designed to untether its economy from the strictures and scrutiny of the U.S. Federal Reserve System. When Iraq reduces its dependency on the dollar for internal trade, it inherently strengthens the case for its own currency to hold an increase in value, creating a self-sustaining economic ecosystem. Secondly, gurus are relentlessly highlighting the recent visits by high-level Iraqi delegations to financial powerhouses like Switzerland and the International Monetary Fund. These are not tourist trips. They are strategic missions focused on integrating Iraq into the global financial architecture, discussing everything from international banking compliance to the technical mechanisms required for a stable and strong currency. The very fact that these meetings are happening at the highest levels signals a preparedness, a laying of the groundwork for a significant monetary event. Furthermore, the internal pressure within Iraq cannot be overstated. The Iraqi government is facing immense public demand for economic improvement. A stronger dinar would instantly increase the purchasing power of every Iraqi citizen, reducing the cost of imported goods from food to medicine and fostering a new era of domestic prosperity. This social contract element is a powerful driver that many analysts believe the government can no longer ignore. The parliament's continued discussions about deleting the zeros from the currency, process that would involve introducing new, lower denomination banknotes, is often misinterpreted as a revaluation itself, but in reality, it is a logistical reform that could conveniently coincide with an RV to streamline the nation's cash-based economy and signal a new beginning. Adding rocket fuel to this speculation is the undeniable reality of Iraq's vast natural resource wealth. We're talking about a nation sitting on one of the largest proven oil reserves in the world, and with global energy prices remaining volatile, the revenue flowing into the country is staggering. The fundamental economic principle here is simple: a nation with immense wealth and a relatively small population should, in theory, possess a very strong currency. The current disconnect between the dinar's official exchange rate and its perceived intrinsic value based on oil wealth is the very gap that investors are hoping to exploit. This is not just about speculation, it is about the eventual alignment of a currency with the true economic output of its nation. The recent infrastructure projects, the development of the Grand Fall port, and the strategic partnerships with neighboring countries for trade corridors all point towards an Iraq that is not just rebuilding, reimagining itself as a major regional economic hub. A strong currency is an absolute prerequisite for such an ambition. It attracts foreign direct investment, reduces the cost of importing necessary technology and machinery, and elevates the country's standing on the world stage. Therefore, when gurus talk about the inevitability of a revaluation, they are often pointing to this broader, more compelling national vision that the Iraqi government itself has publicly endorsed. The pieces of the puzzle, from financial reform to economic diversification and geopolitical positioning, are slowly but surely being put into place, creating a narrative of impending change that is both powerful and many irresistibly convincing, setting the stage for a financial event that promises to rewrite the rules for those who have positioned themselves ahead of the curve. But let's pivot from the grand vision to the gritty, on-the-ground reality that forms the second layer of this story, a layer where cautious optimism collides with a history of delays and formidable challenges. While the Guru headlines often paint a picture of an imminent and inevitable revaluation, deeper dive into the operational and political hurdles reveals a far more complex and less predictable timeline. The relationship with the United States Treasury and the Federal Reserve is a double-edged sword. While reducing dollar dependency is a goal, Iraq remains enmeshed in a complex web of international regulations and compliance standards designed to prevent money laundering and terrorism financing. Every move the Central Bank of Iraq makes is under a microscope, and the process of unwinding from the dollar system is akin to untangling a giant knotted rope. It must be done slowly and meticulously to avoid causing economic seizure or triggering severe sanctions that could cripple the progress made so far. This is why, despite the exciting news of high-level meetings, the actual implementation of a new financial framework is a marathon, not a sprint. Another critical point of analysis, often glossed over in more sensationalist Guru reports, is the state of Iraq's internal banking sector. For a revaluation to be stable and sustainable, the domestic banking system must be robust enough to handle the shockwave. It must have the technological infrastructure to process transactions at a new value, the liquidity to manage a potential flood of capital, and the trust of the populace to prevent a catastrophic bank run. Currently, a significant portion of the Iraqi economy operates on cash. Convincing citizens to place their faith in their newly valued currency into banks is a monumental task of building trust that has been eroded by decades of conflict and instability. Furthermore, the political landscape within Iraq itself is a minefield of competing interests. The federal government in Baghdad, the semi-autonomous Kurdistan regional government, and various powerful political blocs do not always see eye to eye on economic policy. A move as significant as a revaluation could redistribute wealth and power in ways that threaten certain factions, leading to political gridlock that can stall even the most well-intentioned economic reforms. This is not merely bureaucratic inertia. It is a fundamental struggle over the future direction of the nation, and the dinar's value is a central pawn in this high-stakes game. Then there is the elephant in the room, the issue of monetary mass and inflation. A sudden and dramatic increase in the currency's value without a corresponding and massive increase in tangible goods and services within the Iraqi economy could lead to hyperinflation, destroying the purchasing power it sought to create. This is the central dilemma for the Central Bank of Iraq. They must manage the money supply with extreme precision, potentially through mechanisms like a currency peg or a managed float, to ensure that any increase in value is both realistic and stable. The gurus who promise a rate of $3 or more per dinar are often ignoring this basic economic constraint. Such a jump would represent one of the most dramatic revaluations in modern history and would require an economic output and foreign reserve backing that Iraq simply does not possess at this moment. The more plausible scenario discussed in sober financial circles is a gradual appreciation over time or initial revaluation to a more modest, yet still significant, rate that reflects the true potential of the economy without triggering an inflationary spiral. This recalibration of expectations is crucial for any serious investor. It is the difference between speculative gambling and strategic positioning. Understanding these delays and challenges is not about spreading pessimism. It is about building a foundation of knowledge that is resilient to the daily waves of hype and disappointment that characterize the dinar community. It allows you to filter the news, to distinguish between a genuine substantive development and mere rumor mill chatter designed to generate website clicks and sell premium subscription services. The path to a stronger dinar is being built brick by brick through international diplomacy, internal banking reforms, and political negotiation, but it is a path fraught with obstacles that cannot be wished away by hopeful thinking alone, demanding a patient and discerning eye from anyone watching this space with a vested interest. So where does this leave you, the investor, standing at the crossroads of monumental potential and sobering reality, with your attention fixed on the ever-flowing stream of Guru News highlights? The final and most critical layer of this entire conversation transcends the headlines and enters the realm of personal strategy and intellectual self-defense. The information ecosystem surrounding the Iraqi dinar is uniquely volatile, a digital arena where credible journalism blends seamlessly with orchestrated hype, making it imperative to cultivate a disciplined and skeptical mindset. The first rule of engagement is to become a master of source verification. When you hear a breathtaking claim about a confirmed date or guaranteed rate, your immediate response should not be excitement, but investigation. Ask the fundamental questions. Is this information coming from a named official at the Central Bank of Iraq, the Ministry of Finance, or the International Monetary Fund? Or is it attributed to the ever-nebulous insider sources or contacts in Baghdad that are the lifeblood of guru speculation? The most valuable tool in your arsenal is the official website of the Central Bank of Iraq itself. The CBI's published statements, monetary policy reports, and press releases are the unvarnished ground truth, and any guru claim that cannot be cross-referenced with these primary documents should be treated as unconfirmed rumor, not fact. Beyond verifying sources, you must learn to decipher the language used within the community. Be acutely aware of the moving goalposts. A predicted date for the revaluation that comes and goes without event is often followed by a new, equally confident prediction, a cycle that can repeat indefinitely and erode your capital in anticipation. Be wary of any narrative that frames delays not as setbacks, but as part of a secret, more complex plan involving international banks and governments, a narrative designed to transform a failed prediction into evidence of an even larger conspiracy, thereby rewarding patience over results. Furthermore, you must make a clear distinction between macroeconomic trends and a specific monetary policy event. It is unequivocally true that Iraq is developing, its infrastructure is improving, and its financial systems are modernizing. These are powerful, positive long-term trends. However, a long-term trend is not the same as a short-term trigger for a currency revaluation. The gurus often conflate the two, using the undeniable progress of the nation as implicit proof that the RV is happening tomorrow. Your strategy should involve separating these timelines. Believe in Iraq's future potential, but do not bet your financial stability on a specific short-term event that is subject to immense and unpredictable political and technical forces. This is not a passive investment. It is an active vigil that requires constant education. You need to understand the basics of what drives currency value, foreign reserves, balance of payments, inflation rates, and interest rate policies. When you arm yourself with this knowledge, you can engage with the news on a higher level. Instead of just asking, is the RV happening? You can ask more penetrating questions. What does this new banking law mean for Iraq's money supply? Or how will the completion of the Grand Fall port impact the country's balance of trade and, consequently, the strength of the dinar over the next decade? This shift in questioning moves you from a passive spectator hoping for a windfall to an active analyst assessing a nation's economic trajectory. The ultimate call to action, therefore, is not to simply buy more dinar or subscribe to a premium Telegram channel. The most powerful action you can take right now is to commit to becoming your own most reliable guru. Dedicate yourself to a regimen of primary source checking, educate yourself on the fundamental principles of international finance, and build a network for discussion that prioritizes data over dogma. The future of the Iraqi dinar will be written by the complex interplay of geopolitics, economics, and time. Your success or failure within that future, however, will be determined by the quality of the information you consume and the critical lens through which you view it. The journey is far from over, and the final chapter of this story remains unwritten, waiting for the next official announcement, the next piece of legislation, the next undeniable shift that brings the potential of this currency one step closer to its tangible reality.